You are the one you've been waiting for. You have everything you need to be able to show up to this responsibility. And hang in, because I created this podcast for a specific reason, which is to help teach you things that you might otherwise not have access to, and to be a support and an example of how we can become a healthy parent for that part of self. But again, today is just about seeing and building an awareness that that part is there. The alarms are going off. Welcome to Grow with Robin Breckenridge, a podcast about stepping into the most fully expressed, aligned, and conscious version of yourself. Here, we dive into the real work of personal growth, establishing boundaries, understanding your patterns, building self-trust, healing emotional wounds, and creating relationships that feel safe, authentic, and fulfilling. I'm Robin, a life and relationship coach, and in each episode, we'll explore the tools, insights, and conversations that will help you not just improve your life and relationships, but truly transform them. You don't have to just go through it. Let's grow through it, and let's do it together. When you were little, you found ways to cope, to make things feel okay. Those actions were adaptive then, meaning they worked. They kept you safe. And here's the important part. Those actions were the ways that you learned to manage and tolerate your feelings when you had to manage them alone. But when we carry those same strategies into adulthood without change or awareness, they can become maladaptive. They can block us from healthy relationships, aligned decisions, and grounded self-worth. This is why we're identifying these patterns, not to shame them, but to create more agency. Agency meaning choice. Because when we can recognize the old ways, we can begin to choose new actions that no longer hurt us or the people that we care about. And like I said, don't worry. This is something we will come back to later in this series. But for now, just noticing is enough. So here's an example of how this might look in your life. Maybe little you felt unseen and became the class clown to feel noticed and not invisible. An adult you will still use humor to avoid vulnerability. Or maybe a little you felt powerless when you were young and learned to control everything in order to feel safer or more regulated. An adult you still struggles to trust and surrender in your life. So I like to do everything action oriented. So today I'm giving you a very specific invitation. I've made a very simple worksheet for you. It's linked in the show notes. And here's how to use it. We have to take a brief look in the rearview mirror to understand what challenging feelings still get you in your life and were very challenging when you were young, what actions you took when you remember feeling those feelings, and that's where the patterns start to illuminate. Now, because I typically do this with people one-on-one, and because this is the part of self that often houses some of the most horrific trauma that we have. So for the sake of safety, I'm going to keep even the examples of these a little bit on the lighter end, but I kind of cringe even when I say lighter because there's no like hierarchy of like, oh, this feeling is less important than this one. I mean, if they're challenging, they're challenging. However, I don't want to give, very like specific, deep, traumatized examples because this isn't the format for that. Again, like this is where people can get hurt if they don't have the right level of support. So I'm going to bring up some. You might have certain feelings in your childhood that sound something like abuse or victimization. And those are really great ones to process with a professional, a therapist, a coach who has some like level of understanding or experience in working with childhood trauma, somewhere safe. So for now, here are some examples. Maybe as a child, you felt left out. Maybe you felt embarrassed. Maybe you felt unseen. Maybe you felt anxious, not good enough. These are just some examples. But what I'd like you to do on that printout is I'd like you to write one of those feelings down. Now, sometimes I'll do this with clients and they'll be like, oh, this is so negative. Like, I'm only thinking about like all the negative things that happened. The reason why I have you look at the challenging feelings is because that's what births the patterns. And we are here to bring consciousness to the unconscious patterns. So we have to look at the challenging feelings. Now, this does not negate all the good feelings you had growing up, but we can do that down the road. We can list out all the amazing feelings that you had and kind of look at it through that lens. But for right now, we need to illuminate some of these patterns and we need to look at some of the challenging feelings that you did not have emotional attunement in, had to manage them on your own, and you develop coping mechanisms that are no longer serving you. So I want you to think of that challenging feeling and I want you to write it down. Now, this is also where I don't get too hung up on the like semantics of things. Like some people will be like, well, is that a feeling? Like there are some things, like sometimes people will say, I felt isolated when I was a kid. Okay, well, isolated is a little bit more of an action, like, you are isolating. But listen, if you want to put it, fine, who cares? Basically, what it means is I felt alone, which is more of a feeling. There is a feeling wheel out there that you can use to come up with some feeling words. I'm giving you guys a little printout that goes along with this with examples of each part that we're filling out today. So you're welcome to do that, or you can make up your own. Listen, take it to a therapist, take it to somewhere that can kind of guide you. You can come up with a feeling word. But first, let's just start getting curious. Like, what happened? What did you go through? So write that challenging feeling down. And then a really great place here is to stop, put your hand on your heart. And I want you to think about when you felt that challenging feeling, what action do you remember taking? Now, I'm going to give you an example. Maybe you grew up in a very chaotic, violent home. And so you were afraid often. And maybe when your parents would fight or something would happen, you would hide. So you go, okay, I felt afraid a lot in my childhood. I was scared. We write down scared. What do you remember doing when you felt scared? I remember hiding under my bed. Okay, so let's write that down. The action is I remember hiding under my bed. And maybe there's several actions, by the way, that's okay too. Like I say this to every single client I work with and repeat it, like you can't do this wrong. Like getting curious is getting curious. And again, at the end of the day, if it feels super confusing or activating, this is where we take it to a professional and get some support on this part of your journey. So we've got the challenging feeling. We've got the action you would take when you remember feeling that feeling as a child. Then what I'd like you to do is there's a list of patterns. I mentioned a lot of patterns in last week's episode. And again, you guys, these are just some. Like it's kind of limitless because we're all individuals. So I can't cookie cutter this or be like, this is true for everybody, or there's this like magic generalized way of doing this. Like the way that we get the best results is the most individualized approach. But hey, like, if this work helps you, if this is work you can take into your professional place of support, like, it's great, golden, and let's keep going. So what I'd like you to do, you've got your challenging feeling, you've got the action you remember taking. I want you to look at that list of patterns and see if you can connect a pattern to now. Like what action could still be happening in your life, right? So if I give you that example of like, I felt scared as a kid, I would hide under my bed. Look on that list on those survival patterns or coping mechanisms. If hiding is one of them, let's put that. that tracks, right? Like you were hiding under a bed. Maybe that's the pattern of hiding. And then you can start to think about, we're not here to like solve it today. Where could I still be hiding in my life when I feel scared? Maybe it's like, I'm too afraid to show up with my ideas at work. I hide them. Maybe it's in my relationship. I hide my feelings. Maybe it's I'm really miserable in my marriage and I'm hiding out by, you know, going to the bar after work versus coming home. But like, where are you still hiding? Again, this isn't to solve it. It's to get curious with it. We're not fixing or changing yet. Awareness is the first step in behavioral change. We're just taking that brief look in the rearview mirror. So one more thing that I'd like you to do on this printout is I want you to put your hand on your heart. So if you're driving, pause it or come back to this later. I want you to put your hand on your heart and close your eyes. And the reason why I have people put their hand on their heart so often in this work is because your inner child lives in your body. It doesn't live in your brain, in your head. It lives in your body. And one really great way and one soft way to vulnerably connect is just to put your hand on your heart, to acknowledge that part of self. It also engages your body in the work because for so many of us, like we're kind of showing up in our brains, we're learning these things, but the most important part of this work is embodiment, and that comes over time. So I'd like you to put your hand on your heart, and I want you to envision yourself as a little kid. See it in your mind's eye. And I want you to give that part a name. I originally named my inner child Rockin', like Rockin' Robin, because that was a song that I really liked when I was a kid. People would sing it to me all the time. And so that made me identify with her. Over time, I've changed that now. Like I just call her Rob. Rob is an endearing nickname for me. It's truly like if I was to think of like, who do I feel like? I feel like Rob. My closest people in my life call me Rob. When I talk to myself, that's what I call myself. So I've now called her Rob. It just feels more aligned for me. And even this morning, like, I don't know if this is true for any of you guys, but especially like where I am hormonally, like when I wake up, it's like the anxiety hits me first thing. And before there, it would be met with my coping mechanisms, avoiding or getting super hypervigilant and having to do all the things right now. Now I pause and I just talk to that little girl because ultimately it's her that's like, oh, we have this big day or, we're still recovering and what are we going to do? And I just talk to her like, hey, Rob, what's going on? What are you afraid of? What's making you nervous? Oh, we have a lot of clients today. It's like our first full week back. Okay. Well, let's make sure we have some breaks. Let's make sure that we have time to eat. Let's make sure that later on, after I have something really restorative that I can look forward to. Bottom line, she's not alone in it. I'm an adult. I have a lot of resources now. Like sometimes I need to remind myself, hey, Robin, people pay you for your advice. Got really good advice on board. Sometimes I just got to find it for myself. But the way that I speak to myself in the morning and the way that I speak to that little girl has changed my life. And I know it sounds so simple. And I know that, to be quite honest, it wasn't the easiest thing for me. It wasn't easy for me to be nice to myself for a long time. But having awareness that she's there, having awareness that it's the most powerless part of me that's a part of that experience, and showing up with compassion versus judgment or anger, again, has made all the difference. So for now, your work is simply just to see them, to talk to them the way you wish someone had talked to you back then. We don't tell them to calm down, to get over it, or to stop overreacting. We don't judge them, guilt them, shame them. We listen. We emotionally attune. We acknowledge what we've been through. We notice our sensitivities, and we help them feel less alone in those scary emotional moments. You are the one you've been waiting for. You have everything you need to be able to show up to this responsibility. And hang in, because I created this podcast for a specific reason, which is to help teach you things that you might otherwise not have access to, and to be a support and an example of how we can become a healthy parent for that part of self. But again, today is just about seeing and building an awareness that that part is there. The alarms are going off. So keep that picture of your younger self where you can see it. Every time you look at it, remember, they are still with you, and you are building a safe, loving relationship with them. You will not have to keep repeating the same situations, patterns, relationships over and over and over again. And I want you to know that that is one of the reasons why I have current clients and past clients come on the show, because all of us, if you've noticed, if you've listened to any of the guests that I've had, I think maybe all of them, but probably all of them at some point mentioned that they thought I was full of shit in the beginning, or they weren't sure that this was like real or it was really going to impact them the way that I was describing. And they are all now in vastly different places in their life and in relationship to themselves, because they started to develop a relationship with their inner child and became the emotionally attuned parent that they did not have at that age. And I have them come on so that you can see that they all started probably where you are too, and they are no longer in the same place. And I am also a walking example of that, because there is not one single thing on this podcast that I would try to sell you or package that I have not vetted and tested out and gotten data on myself. There's nothing that I do that I did not apply to my life first. So here's the sad part. You know, we don't get a different ending to that childhood. And that can bring up a lot of grief. That is sad. Like, we didn't get the childhood we wanted. We didn't get maybe the dad we needed or the parents that we needed. But now you get a different ending to that story. Because without consciousness, we're just bringing them back to the same people, places, and things. And they're still living out the same trauma that they experienced when they were younger. So I promise you that when we're looking at these patterns, and today I had you come up with one, right? One challenging feeling, one action you remember taking when you felt that feeling, and then connecting it to a current pattern. You can do more. Personally, I don't do more than 5 with clients because too overwhelming. 5 gives us a pretty good understanding of the handful of patterns that you are still using to manage and tolerate your feelings. Like, that's the craziest thing about this work. It's not like, oh my God, there's like 1 million patterns. I mean, it's usually no more than 5 and 6. And we go, holy smokes, I'm doing this still. So you don't get a different ending to your childhood, but you do get a different ending to the story. That little kid eventually, with you behind the wheel, won't have to live out the same challenging emotional experiences over and over again. So I want to close today by honoring you and the courage it takes to even listen to a conversation like this. I want to remind you that your inner child is not a burden. It's not a roadblock. It's not, I mean, at least for myself, I used to think like, oh, if I could just get rid of this sensitive part of me. Well, that sensitive part of me ended up guiding me to the most aligned work I could have ever envisioned for myself. She was not a liability. She was not the thing I had to exile in order to function the way I wanted. She was the core of who I am. So your relationship with your inner child is sacred. Your inner child is sacred. They carry your earliest stories, your tenderness, your brilliance, and your first attempts at survival. Some of what they hold is heavy. Some of it is beautiful, but all of it matters. Please remember, you are not broken or defective or behind because you have patterns. You are human, and you are not those patterns. Your patterns began as your very best attempt to feel safe. And as you build this relationship with your inner child, you're not just healing old wounds. You are also creating safety, connection, and love that ripples out into every area of your life. My reconnection to my inner child and developing a healthier relationship literally changed the trajectory of my life. Like, I had the most opportunity at the bottomest point of my life. Like, recently someone asked me, like, they had a friend, like, how does she, create a career like you? I said, I have no idea. I don't know. Just go towards what feels authentic and aligned and be a good person. That's probably my best advice. But probably even better than that is develop a healthy relationship with yourself, and things start to fall into place. Those younger parts need a part they can trust so that they can hand the wheel over to the most resourceful part of you. And in the last episode, I mentioned those parts of self. That's your conscious adult part of self. We need that one running the show, parenting the kids in the back that are upset. And although that can feel like a burden and it can feel hard in the beginning, it's not that hard. You just need to learn how to do it. That's what I'm here to help with. And then life changes. And that is why I've had all of these guests on this podcast, because it doesn't matter how successful you are, what you do for a living, who you are, none of it matters. All of it is possible for you. So I'm going to leave you with a mantra for this week. I honor the child within me. I see their pain. I see their joy. I hold them with love, patience, and reverence. We walk forward together, and together we are safe now. Next week, we're going to meet your inner teenager, the fierce protector of your inner child. It's a really exciting episode because I know that I've had a few guests on and we've talked a lot about inner teenagers. So this is going to be a really great one to uncover. But for now, I want you to just lean into that precious, sacred inner child in you. Take a brief look in the rearview mirror. Listen to the feelings that are challenging, some of the hard stuff they went through, what they remember doing. Look through those list of patterns. If it's too hard, send me a DM, take it to a therapist, take it to a coach who's trained in trauma and parts of self, and come back next week. And just as a reminder, the main goal in me doing this is to help connect people with information that can help them suffer less. If this podcast is helping you, inspiring you, shifting you, which I've gotten some amazing feedback from some listeners, and you feel like there's someone in your life that might benefit, send it. And if you don't want to, don't. It's all good. But I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate that you are doing work that a majority of society doesn't have the balls to do. So you just go on with your brave self, lean into that inner child, take good care of yourself, listen to what you need. I'll see you guys next week. Let's keep going. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for being here and for doing this work. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Come connect with me over on TikTok at Robin Breckenridge or Instagram at Coach with Robin, where I share even more insights, tools, and conversations around boundaries, self-trust, relational healing, and so much more. And just a quick reminder, this podcast is for educational and personal growth purposes only. The insights and tools I share are based on my experience as a life and relationship coach and are meant for general guidance. Each person's story is unique, and the nuances of individual experiences can't always be addressed in this format. What's shared here may not be applicable to every situation, especially those involving abuse, oppression, severe mental illness, or systematic harm. If you or someone you know is in crisis, please seek support from a qualified mental health professional or emergency resources. Thank you for listening and for showing up for yourself in this way. Take care, and I'll see you next time.